You're recording.
That says you're recording.
All
Very
righty.
cool.
I just invited Luke Dykman to join us. He might join us here in a minute.
Very cool.
He's out of Lynchburg, Virginia.
Well, if you would, for the recording, Brian, would you be so kind as to reintroduce Nitro?
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to introduce Nitro. We met in Arizona at the Ostrich Festival, and she was manning a booth for Bikers Against Child Abuse. And so I asked her if she would be kind enough to come and speak with us. So she was forthcoming with that, and here she is tonight. So
Well, thank you.
that's what I know about Nitro.
All right, Nitro, if you would, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Thank you for allowing me to come on and talk about BACA. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are an open book. We want people to understand who we are, who we're not, what we do, and what we don't do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit international organization that is in 16 countries right now with 22 in forming effort. We are in 47 states here in the United States, and we are a free service to our wounded little brothers and sisters. A lot of the public doesn't understand that. They think it costs. No, it doesn't. Each one of our members go through an NCIC background check. We want to make sure that you have no crimes against children. Doesn't matter if it's a DUI and you had a child in the car, domestic violence and children were involved. We can have you a part of the organization. It just is what it is. We really screen a lot of people that come in here. You go through the first 3 months of training with our IT guy, and then after that, once you clear with that IT person, then you find a mentor who is patched, and they will do the rest of the training with you. It can take from 14 to 16 months. Some states, it could take 2 years before you're even considered for a patch. We take what we do very, very serious. Our little wounded children have gone through enough. We don't need to bring in people that are not going to take this serious. It is one heck of a commitment, and I always say it's a job that no amount of money could ever pay me to do. It is in our hearts. None of us get paid for what we do. We are all volunteers. And, from what Pipes, who is our international state president right now, he was my mentor, which I so appreciated. He still is. When I have questions and stuff, I can always call him up. But we need to make sure people do understand the impact of what we do. We're the only organization in the world that does do what we do. We go to court with these kids. We're here to empower them, not to enable them. So a lot of people ask us, are you big brother, big sister? No, we're not. That is a great organization, so why reinvent the wheel? We do something that nobody else can do. We have the time to do that. But Pipes had said one time, when you come in to get your fingerprints, you volunteered. After that, you were committed. And it is one heck of a commitment. We are 24/7, 365. Once a child comes into the organization, and that is through a phone call to our helpline, our child liaison and or her team will call back between up to 24 hours, I believe it is. But here in Arizona, we try to work at 4 hours to try to get that call back, whether it's a call or an email, because we want to make sure we reach, the person that's reaching out for help. Unfortunately, we won't take all of them because a lot of people, believe it or not, call us up and it's, hey, I'm going through a divorce. My husband's being a jerk. Can you come and beat him up? No. That is not what we do. It is strictly about the child. It is not about whoever the caretaker is. And the only one that can call us is whoever has legal guardianship, whether it's mom, dad, both, grandparents, DCS, CPS, it doesn't matter. Whoever has legal guardianship are the only ones that can request us to come in. They have to have the documentation that says, yes, this child has been abused. There's 5 forms of abuse that we deal with: sexual, physical, emotional, mental, and psychological abuse. Chief back in the day did some child play therapy and found that a lot of the psychological, mental, and emotional abuse can be just as damaging and very hard to get to sometimes. If it's not something that's physical or sexual, a lot of them get kind of quiet and they won't talk about it, but it affects them the rest of their life. And we don't want that. We want to break that chain. We don't want them to bring it into their relationships, when they get older. So we just make sure that all the paperwork is in order, that the child liaison gets. If our board decides that this is a case that we're going to take, they discuss it all. Then they do what they call an initial. They will go to wherever the child is at. Now, just to let you know, the child is either removed from the harm or the harm has been removed from the child. So we don't go in there if this is still going on. Of course, we don't need our cutter be a part of BACA, that if we heard a child that's being abused, you wouldn't step up. Of course you would. We hope people would. Years ago, it was basically a family issue, but it's not. It's a society issue. And we all need to wake up to what is happening to our children. The epidemic is growing. It's really sad that it's growing, but our system needs to change. So we're hoping that somewhere down the line, somebody will recognize that and do something with it. But, for now, what we need to do is let those kids know that there are people out there that care. Once the initial is done, this is where all the paperwork is given to our child liaison, and this is where we find the likes and dislikes of the child, where we get their road names, because we give them little road names. Once that's done, then we do what we call a level 1. A level 1 is where all who have been cleared, and I mean their background check has been cleared, we go to wherever the child is. It could be at their home, it could be in a park, or whatever it is the caretaker decides it should be. And we roll up on our bikes, and this is where we introduce them to their new family. Our president will introduce and let the child or children know, hey, guess what? I told you I was bringing some new family. Here's some of them. It's not all of them. The kids are pretty odd with it. Sometimes they stand inside the house and don't come out right away. A lot of times they're like, wait a minute, they're still coming down the road? They're here for me? It's pretty empowering for us to see that when a kid is inside and then within a few minutes they're outside. And, we're introducing ourselves to them. This is where our president will then hand them the cut, which is a jean vest. The jean vest has their road name on it. It has a back patch that the child was able to pick when they did the initial. And it could say, I'm empowered, or I'm in the family. One has flames, the other one doesn't, so it's totally up to the child. And they are told then what their new road name is, and they're introduced to their BACA family. Then they're introduced to 2 primaries. These primaries are full patch members who have gone through all the training. A child is never, or BACA child is never alone with a BACA member. Doesn't matter who it is. They are taught this, so isn't the caretakers, that if a member comes up to the door and they are alone, you do not answer the door. You get in touch with either the other primary or you get in touch with our child liaison. And the reason being is basically to protect that child, and also to protect the integrity of BACA and make sure that, nothing ever happens. We had a guy at a meeting one time that stood up and asked, how do we know you're 100% on the up and up? And I asked him, and I said, well, if you can tell me, and I excused everybody in the room, that our police officer are, our attorneys are, our clergymen are, we won't even get into the government, is 100% on the up and up, then I'll lie to you too and tell you all bikers are. Let's get real. There is no organization, foundation, or corporation that is 100% on the up and up. So we have to make sure we try to cover all bases, again, to keep the child safe and the integrity of BACA safe. And so far, I've been here 10 years. Pipes and I are the longest members in Arizona. BACAs have been around going on their 24th year. And there's so many people who still don't know about us, but I've never heard of a child being hurt because those rules are not followed. The funds that we raised when Brian saw us at Ostrich Festival, that was more of an awareness event, as there's a lot of families there. Again, a lot of people that don't know who we are or afraid to approach us. So we go to those events so that they can kind of watch us and, feel comfortable, and coming up and talking to us. We do not deal with politics. We do not deal with religion. We do not care what the child's, ethnic background is. All we care about is, does this child live in fear? Is there documentation that this child's been abused? We have to take it serious. Again, like I said, we get some pretty funky phone calls, and we have to weed that out. Unfortunately, a lot of parents through divorce use their children as leverage, and we can't have that. It's sad for the kids. To me, that's some form of abuse, but there's nothing we can do about that. The funds that we do raise, whether we have an awareness event or we have a donation box or we have our merchandise that we bring once in a while, 100% goes to the kids. And that is we get the jackets, we give them backpacks at the level 1 that has a bracelet in it. It has a do-rag in it. It has a t-shirt that at the front of it, it says, "No child deserves to live in fear." And on the back, it has angel wings with a guy on a motorcycle riding away. And it says, "Some of his angels have wings, others have motorcycles." The kids absolutely love that. They get a do-rag, they get a pencil, they get tattoos. They're fake, believe me, they don't, they're not permanent. And they also get a blanket that before the primaries hand to them, we pass it around to all the members that are there at the level 1 to hug and fill it up with love. And that's what we tell the child. It's biker love. And we tell them that it can never, ever be washed out. And they kind of giggle. Some of them we had back in the day where we would say that if the love feels like it's getting weak, let us know, we'll come back and fill it back up. But we had a little BACA brother that was afraid to have his mother wash his blanket, as she washed a shirt of his and the color came out of it. So he was afraid she was going to wash the love out. And he wanted the original love. He didn't want it to be filled up again. So we kind of changed our verbiage on that. Back in the day, we used to say it was called an adoption. But we had one little boy in a foster home that took it serious, packed all his stuff, waited on the steps, and waited for BACA to come back and literally adopt him. So we had to change some verbiage throughout the years on certain things that we do. We don't want to mislead any child. But this child can call their primaries 24/7, 365, whether it's a good day, bad day, indifferent day. We have some that don't believe that we'll answer. They'll call us 2:00 in the morning. And then when we answer, they'll hang up real quick because they didn't expect anybody to answer. So they're testing us, which is okay. We want them to know that we will answer. Each one of our members that I know of here in Arizona will have a certain ring for the certain child so they know who is calling. They're allowed to text us. They can email us. We give them our business card. We want them to be able to reach us no matter what or when. So they feel safe. They know that we're around. Now, if there is a threat, if a child has to go to court and testify, like I said, we're here to empower them, not enable them. We want them to go to court. We want them to be able to stand tall and give their impact statement and not be afraid anymore. That is our goal. And I can't even tell you how it affects us in so many different ways. Like I said, there is no amount of money that can give you the paycheck that comes with our heart and seeing that child get stronger and stronger every day, and hopefully to a point not needing us anymore. That is our ultimate goal. But we'll escort them to court. They'll be in a vehicle. We'll have bikes in front and the back, sometimes alongside. A lot of people ask, why do you do that? Well, the person that he's going to testify against, the child's going to testify against, don't want them to go to court, or maybe the family members don't want them. So they try to find the child and they'll try to run them off the road. They'll try to do something to the rest of us. We've had members throughout the years that have been shot at, been hit by cars, pepper sprayed while on the bikes. We say, bring it on. We don't care. We do whatever it takes. We're willing to give up our life if that means to protect that child from no more abuse. If there's a threat where the child is living and the perpetrator or the family member finds out where they're living and tries to go by the house and threaten them, this is what we call a level 2. We will go camp out on their lawn. Whether it's 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, around the clock, whatever it takes to get that threat and that fear to go away. The people that are threatening them will eventually get the message that you're not getting to the BACA child. My brothers and sisters internationally give up their personal time, their vacation time, their sick time to go and do this for a child. A lot of people ask us, what if there's 5 kids in the family? Well, and only 1 has been abused. Well, how do you oust the other 4? We bring in all 5 of them. Lots of reasons. What if another one has been abused but hasn't talked about it because, well, mine wasn't as bad as my brother's or my sister's, so I'm not going to say anything. But somewhere down the line, they may decide to say something, you know. But even if they're not, what happened to their sibling really affects them. And they may still live in fear, thinking the person's going to come back and hurt them because they can't get to that person. So we're there for all of them. And they're with us until they're 18 years old. Whether the court case is still going on or not, they're with us. And if they turn 18, or when they do turn 18 and a court case is still going on, it is totally up to the child then to say, yes, I still want BACA involved, or you know what? I got this. We're hoping they say I got this only because of the empowerment part of it. But we will stay with them until that case is over with, regardless of their age. If they move to another state, then we get in touch with the state president. That state president finds out where they're moving to, because the rest of us don't need to do that. That's strictly up to, you know, security and the state presidents to know that information. And the chapter that's nearest them will pick them up. If they go on vacation, we find out where they're going and ask them, do you want brothers and sisters? Let's say they go to Texas or they go, you know, to California. And they're like, what? You have people out there too? And it's like, yes. Would you like them to come and visit you? As long as it's okay for their caretakers for that to happen, because we don't want to interrupt their vacation. But I would say 100% of the time, the caretakers are absolutely. So we get in touch with the state president again, find out where they're vacationing, and brothers and sisters will ride from all over, sometimes 300-400 miles just to come down and visit that child to let them know we're everywhere. A lot of them will say, you know, I heard a bike today. I bet that was BACA. You know, we want them to know that this community is safe. I don't know if anybody's got any questions right now, or if you want me to just keep going. Trust me, I can speak.
How does what you do, what your organization does, how does that interplay with the lawful authorities that, you know, you have Department of Social Services, you have other programs like Darkness to Light. That's a very, very good program. It's a training program that works with a lot of organizations who deal with children, espousing basically the same thing you're talking about. So how are y'all able to get in there and layer this blanket over the affected child without, I'm not saying interfere, but having some clashes or interference along the way?
I am so glad you asked that question, because those guys are the professionals. We're not. We don't do any kind of therapy ourselves. We actually pay for therapy. So we work with, you know, DCS, CPS, therapist, clinic, anybody that is their job. We just fill that gap. I'll give you an example. We had a little brother that was going to therapy, and this was before we came in, and he wouldn't talk to the therapist. And a week and a half after we were introduced to them, she couldn't get him to shut up because he felt safe. He felt safe. And we let them know, listen, if it's okay with your whoever the caretaker is, the legal guardian, and your therapist, we'll even go to therapy with you. And if we can't go in the room, look, little brother, sister, we're standing right outside this room. We're going to be here when you get out. And they feel that a different strength. We work with local and state officials who are already in place to protect children. But there's a gap where they can't do a lot of what we can do. You know, our police officers are wonderful. They do a lot of work. They see firsthand what happens to our children. That's a relentless job. So isn't a lot of our therapists and what they have to hear. We don't need to hear everything as a primary. Our child liaison, which is, again, in our organization, one of the most relentless jobs, because he or she does hear everything, all the details, and it does affect you. But they stand strong. They bring that this child is wounded, and we're going to take care of it. Now, we can stand watch 24 hours. Our police officers have other things to deal with, but they are notified. They are notified that we'll be there. I think years ago we didn't do that. A lot of people called the police, and I think there's a gang here that's going to start a fight, and so out of respect, we have whoever the legal guardian is call local officials to let them know that we will be there, so we don't misuse that resource. Court-wise, we can go to court. If the court takes a week and you're sitting in there for 6 hours, we can do that. Not many of our therapists or our local officials can do that. So we try to just fill that gap. We don't take anybody's job. We just know there's a need for that. And, we had one little sister that had, the judge had said, are you afraid? And she's like, nah. And he goes, you're not? She's like, no. And he goes, well, why? Well, my friends are scarier than he is. And she had pointed to her abuser. So there are some other effects, in that area. And the fact that they can call us 24/7. We're not a 9 to 5, so I so appreciate that question, because a lot of people want to know that. And it is so important for them to know that we don't take over anybody's job. We just fill a gap that we know that they can't do. They have so many other cases that they have to deal with. So we're here helping them as well. Let's put it that way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Very much. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, you had mentioned 2 different kinds of abuse for emotional and psychological. Could you delineate the difference between those 2?
Well, me not being the professional, we had some little girls whose father didn't physically or sexually abuse the child, but played a lot of mind games. And I think all 3 of those, between the emotional, mental, and psychological abuse comes in, he couldn't get to them other than those 3 things. And he packed their lunch one time, and when they got to school and they opened up their lunch box, there was their kitten that was dead in the lunchbox. So the emotional part of losing their kitten, the mental part of what he did, and the psychological effects that we have, because it puts that fear in them, like, will they be next, or will another pet or somebody that they love be next? That's my best explanation on that. There's stories that are just, sometimes they're hard to handle. We have to walk away and get behind another brother and sister if it's affecting us. We call it BACA allergies. Or if we're just thrilled or overwhelmed that this child has come out and wants to meet their family. But, like we said, sexual and physical abuse are very apparent, but the emotional, psychological, and mental abuse are not always. Especially in boys that internalize a lot of their of what happened to them, which is sad. They figured if they don't talk about it, it'll go away. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for the invitation to the group. I'm driving back home from work, but I appreciate the invitation. I'd like to be here for the subsequent meetings.
Well, hey, Luke.
Your email's already on the list, Luke. Drive
Right.
safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
There's a few other things, that I kind of want to weigh. The funds that we do raise pays for that therapy. There's a lot of families that don't have insurance, or I love the, well, you have 13 visits a year, like that's going to cure this child. So again, we fill that gap and we try to help out the best we can. We do for, I know, Arizona, every 3 months we do an evaluation to see where the child's at. And of course, anything that we do is all notated and given to our child liaison. She communicates with anybody that's on that case, whether it's the advocate, the attorney, the therapist. So if there's any behaviors, if there's any things that a child said that was kind of out of contact, we always let our child liaison know. We document everything. Just to make sure that the child gets the proper care in their therapy. Not that the therapist is not going to, but if they don't know certain things that were shared with us, we want to make sure that they have an understanding. Sometimes if a BACA child wants to talk about what happened to them to us, we can listen, but what we try to do is encourage them to say, you know what, little brother, sister, why don't we get in touch with whoever their therapist is. Let's go tell them this. This is so great that you want to talk about it. But we joke around when they go, I'm just the biker, I'm not the therapist, but we'll be there for you. And they kind of giggle and they're like, oh, okay. I can't even, it's hard to say what the impact is if you've never been on what we call our level ones to see what it is. I had a little girl that we had to say hi through a shade. Years down the road, she would never talk to me. I would go and do our follow-up visits because we do that as well. And we let our chapter know and our child liaison know if there's any needs, if there's any court dates, if there's any different circumstances, if they moved or a number has changed or something like that. And all of a sudden she disappeared. I didn't know what happened to her, if she got moved to another foster home, if mom left or whatever. But then I got a call from our Black Canyon chapter on the west side that she ended up being on their side and was going to be at what we call our winter party. And I was thrilled to death. I was like, oh my God, but I didn't know how she was going to react, if she still was going to be kind of standoffish. And she came running into the place and hugged me like she's never hugged before. And she just kept looking up at me like, you're still here? You still care? And we want them to know that. And even if I had to leave, they would know that there's always somebody that's going to be there for them. Because sometimes, if it's a medical thing, if it's a work thing, if it's a family thing, some of our members have to leave. Not because they want to, but, we want them to take care of their families first. But I've never been hugged so tight. And she just looked at me and she was doing great. And it was the first time in all those years that she did that. And like I said, I can't tell you that paycheck. Your heart just fills up knowing that all we did was show up. That's our simple thing. We show up when we say we're going to, and we take care of things when we say we're going to. And we just try to give them that empowerment. Like I said, the funds we raise not just go to therapy, but we also put on a huge winter party for them and a huge summer party for them. It's their money. I think we have more fun than they do half the time, but, we get them to be with other kids. They get to meet other children who've been through what they've been through, and they start to communicate. They swap numbers. We even had one little sister that, I went to court and I'll go to court with you. I'm like a kid empowering a kid instead of a bullying a kid. How wonderful is that? Maybe someday we won't be needed. I mean, again, that's our goal, but the stories that I can tell you would last a lot longer than this. Let me tell you, there are good stories and there are not so good stories. My daughter's best friend was beaten to death. Best friend's baby was beaten to death. He had gashes in his mouth. He had gashes on his eyes. His hair was ripped out of his skull. He was punched in the stomach, split his colon, caused internal bleeding, and then the SOB put him in the tub to try to make it look like a drowning. He was only 8 months old. 8 months old. Guess what he got? Our system. 18 months in jail and 3 years supervised probation. There's something wrong here. Our kids don't have rights. They're not being protected in the way that they should be. And that's the sad fact. and sharing with you guys, and you guys, whatever it is that you can do, getting that awareness out there. This helps. I always say that if you had a child that was kidnapped, would you not do anything in the world to find that child? Anything in the world? Well, there are children out there that are waiting to be found, waiting to be heard, waiting to feel that love. And everything that we do, from things like this, getting in touch, all of you, I don't know what states that you're in, but please, if you get the word out and have them get in touch with chapters that are near you, and help them out. A lot of them don't have the resources that we have here in the Valley in Arizona. But we're one BACA, and we try to help each other out. So if you can do that, that would be great. You can go on YouTube and look at our videos. Just type in BACA videos. You'll see the one that Pipes and I are in that was done back in 2012. And it'll give a quick synopsis of a level 1 and stuff. You know, just you know, get the word out there. I mean, 23 years, going on 24 years in 16 countries, and there's still so many people that don't know who we are. And awareness like this is what's going to help those little ones out there still waiting to be found. So if you can at least do that, go to bacaworld.org, go up to where it says chapters, click on the country, and then, you know, find a chapter near you and get in touch with them. Right now, we're coming up on our 100-mile event that we all do internationally. It's an awareness event. 80% of funds that are raised stays within the chapter. 20% goes to internationals, and those funds help get to other countries and other states to get another chapter going to reach more kids. So, you know, if you find a chapter near you that you want to help, you know, sponsor someone in the 100-mile run, or even sponsor just the chapter, please do. They need help too, and help is just talking to you guys and getting that word out there.
I just want to share with everybody that Terry shared in the chat, part of our group here, the Zoom chat, the website to BACA, and it is quite an extensive website there.
It is. There's a few of them on there. There's one that Australia did that's awesome. LA did another one that was awesome. And we have to be careful, you know, and get those things all checked to make sure that they're good and people are talking the right things. So and make sure they're not saying things that we do that we don't do. But yes, please get on there and check those out, and get on our international website and find a chapter near you and help them out.
Yeah,
again,
I see there's chapters in most every state in the United States and virtually every province in Canada as well. So yeah, I see there's 4 of them here in the state of Michigan. So
yes, we're working on our 5th one here in Arizona. Delaware, New Mexico, and Hawaii do not have chapters. Now with Delaware and New Mexico, if Internationals gets a call and there's a child there, the surrounding states, we will go there. We've ridden there for all of us between Colorado, Arizona, Texas, whatever chapter is closest to them, we'll get to that child. Hawaii might be a little difficult. I'm willing to go to help out, but I don't think we can get the bike there in time. So, but we do have people that are working on that.
Nitro, I have a question.
Yeah.
You said the international organization is a 501c3. Do your local chapters share those assets? And, you know, if South Carolina needs some money, does Arizona help out? You know, I mean, I don't know the 501c3 laws if that's doable, but how does that work?
Our 501c3 number is all over, so we all have the same number. There are some states that have to have a state number. I'm not real sure on that. It's as far as Treasury is concerned, it's not my job. I have trouble with my own. But if, let's say, you know, South Dakota or South Carolina, people send in funds to a particular chapter, then it stays within that chapter. And I'll give you an example. When our article ran at the same time that our video did back in 2012, 2012, we were getting checks from all over, even from as far as Croatia and stuff like that. And what we did was we turned around and sent it to the states that they came from, because those people didn't know they had chapters in their state. So we don't solicit from other states. It stays within that state. So we turned those funds around and sent to the state president. And what they do is disperse it to the chapters, in that state to help them out. Because again, a lot of these chapters don't have the resources that we have here. And, they don't have the weather that we have here, so we can get out and do a lot more awareness and a lot more events than a lot. So we try to keep it within that state. And we don't take offense if you say, hey, I wanted to send Arizona money, but I live in South Carolina. Send it to South Carolina. We don't take offense to that. We all work hard at raising those funds for the kids.
Good. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Nitro, I have a question about serving children when, let's see, how do I put this? Okay, so a child is neglected, and the consequence of that I see a lot of on my wards. And so that child ends up with some real serious emotional problems, and they end up getting BACA acted a number of times into one of the local hospitals because of their behavior. And the court case is already done. The parents are in jail for their misdeeds, and the kid is in foster care and has worked his way through however many homes that he's worked his way through. And so then the social worker or the caseworker, case manager, and I are having discussions on the phone about the disposition of this, young child. Does BACA fit into this anywhere?
It's a case-to-case basis, and like I said, the child liaison will get that information, and what they do is they bring it to the board. The board has to look at everything that's involved there. If the child is not living in fear, usually it doesn't matter whether they have a case or the case is done with or whoever they're with. It has to be a case-to-case basis, because if they're just acting out because of what happened to them, that is where our local and state officials come in to help them, with the therapy part of it. And I know we are getting a lot more foster parents that are pushing, whether it's CPS, DES, DCS, whatever the organization in your state, to get us involved, because they're angry and they're acting out and they're fearful. They're fearful that they're going to have to go back to their abusers, which we know a lot of states and courts do that. Well, the dad, even though he beat the kid, has a right to his kid. Really? What about the child's right? Unfortunately, it's happened. I didn't know they still do BACA acting. I know they used to do it a long time ago, but I know in this state they don't. It's sad that our kids have to get shuffled around like that. All I can say is that whatever case that you have, bring it to the chapter that's closest to where that child is, and the child liaison is best at answering that question. We all have jobs to do. Mine is PR and events. And even though I've been around for 10 years, I don't pretend to do what I know our child liaison does. They have a lot more detailed information. So they can give you you can even email them, whatever chapter's near you. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is one of the major criteria is that they're living in fear from their abuser. And so that's okay. All right. Well, that adds up really well with the cases. And yeah, we still BACA Act all over the United States. It's just that a lot of places don't call it BACA Act anymore. I see 10 BACA Act cases a day, mostly adult, wow. but I see some adolescent BACA Act cases every day.
That's tough. Yeah, it's been a while. I used to work in psychiatric hospitals, so for kids, from inner city and gangs and stuff like that, and long-term residential, and they change the name like anything else, but if it helps a child, that's one thing. But sometimes it can do damage. Constantly shifting the child around and stuff they don't have consistency. And that's the problem. That's what I love about this organization, is that we try to be as consistent as we can, so long as the caretaker keeps us in the know that if the child moves or they moved or their number changes or something like that, but the child always knows we're out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
But Nitro, I just want to say thank you very much. I had no idea that the BACA organization existed. You've opened my eyes, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, I hope so. And like I said, this is all about awareness. Please tell everybody you know. Anybody can email me anytime. Brian has my email address. And if you want to ask me a question or whatever, reach something, please email me. I will get you to the right person. If it's not within our state or our chapter, I will definitely get you to the right person. But reach out to those chapters. We do jacket drives. That's another one. The jean jackets, plain jean jackets. No bling on it and stuff like that. A lot of times boys to men are hard to find because you guys keep it on until it falls off. So they're really hard to find. Us girls, oh, we've had it a week. It's old. We need something new. But, you know, get with the chapter and see what their needs are. And they're best to be able to tell you, you know, where they're hurt and whether it's monetary or sometimes we have events and we look for people who want to donate stuff for the raffles as well. So, you know, the best to know is the chapters that are near you. Anyone else?
No, thank you. That was a good presentation.
Hey, Nitro, we do want to thank you. It was really a pleasure to hear this tonight. I didn't know anything about this organization at all, and as you're thumbing through the website, I was surprised how large and how expensive it is. So it's pretty cool. I don't know what chance Brian had to explain about us. I'm going to guess you know something about Rotary as a whole. Mm-hmm. We're a relatively new Rotary club. Actually, we're still provisional, so we're still figuring out who we are, what kind of projects and things that we're going to do as a club. And at the same time, we're pushing the envelope as far as a Rotary club goes. So this gives us something really good to think about, I think. And I imagine the discussion next week in our happy hour is going to be probably including some of this. So
what? Wait, where's the happy hour?
Happy hour, same place, same time. We show up.
Might be a little far for me to go.
Have you been involved in Rotary before at all?
Right here. Have I what?
Been involved with the Rotary Club at all before? Or?
We've done presentations for Rotary here. Our Attorney General was there. We had about 150 Rotary members. If you guys end up having, let's say you have a car show or you have an event, invite BACA to put up a booth. They would love to come. Very cool. So anywhere you have that, that's another way of getting that awareness out. But they're always looking to be able to go and put up a booth so that they can share with people that don't know. So, but yeah, we have Rotary here, and I've gone several times to do a presentation for them. They've been a huge help here.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, you're absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
You're absolutely welcome to join us for our happy hour anytime.
How long of a drive is it?
Well, that's the problem. It's BYOB here, We just
right.
We show up here at our own same place, same time, basically next week, and
there you go.
Once a month we do that, and we show up with whoever has our favorite drink, or we show up with our own favorite drink, and we spend the first 5 or so minutes drooling over each other's drinks.
There you go.
Nice. And there's those people that just drink at every meeting. So you're more than welcome to join us.
Absolutely.
And if you look around the room here, nobody has to wear pants.
I hear you. I hear you. That's what my husband said.
No.
He said they're only showing from the waist up, and I'm like, oh, bonus. My husband and I are both involved in BACA. He is actually our state president.
Oh, too crazy.
So just don't anybody get up right now to prove that, okay?
I just did.
I'm in the car.
Luke said.
Well, if there's anything else that I can do, like I said, any other information that you need, please let me know. I'm also our regional PR manager, and I work with our international PR officer as well. And if I have any questions, I just shoot it to him, and he helps me to better understand, the process of BACA as well. It changes all the time. Like I said, 10 years, it changes all the time. So, and that's okay. As long as they're reaching more and more kids, we're good.
Well,
Feel free to join us in
you.
the future. We are social drinkers with a biking problem.
I love that. And I say, people always say, well, how come you don't get paid? And I'm like, listen, we ride motorcycles because we love to ride, but we ride for a reason. We don't need to get paid to do this. Our kids need us. And if we have the availability, that's what we do. And then afterwards, we get to know each other on that drinking level.
Very nice. So glad you shared with us tonight.
Thank you.
Couple little Rotary things before we close up the meeting. One, I want to thank you all very much. That's the only time somebody's saying happy birthday to me today, so that was pretty cool.
Happy birthday.
Who's new on here? Luke. Hey, glad to see you. Are you a Rotarian now?
I am, sir. Yes.
Ah, very cool. Yeah, we're in the process of getting this club chartered, and I'll get a hold of you sometime and chat with you a little bit about what we're doing. And about half the people who see on here are members that intend to be Rotary members in the club, and the other half are associating and joining in the activities that way, staying in their own clubs. So welcome tonight. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Butch, it's good to see you again. Where are you at?
I'm still in Bemidji, Minnesota, unfortunately.
And Bemidji's on our route, right, Rory and Judy?
It may be. Kind of thinking that way.
We might be stopping by to, wet our whistles here in July sometime.
I heard that. We'll definitely have to connect.
Hey, Nitro,
I have a quick question.
And Blair came back from Florida back into Thornbury, Canada, and didn't bring the weather with him.
No, I don't. No kidding. You want to see the weather?
Go ahead, Nitro. Ask your question.
Yeah, my
There's our
husband,
weather.
who is our state president, has 2 meetings he has to start, so I'll have to click off. But how do I get a copy of this? Or will it go on a website or something like that we can refer to?
Our website is the Motorcycle Rotarians E-Club.
Okay.
I will be emailing you an invite for next week, and also more information and a link to our club site and everything, Nitro.
Fantastic.
And you can certainly log in anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you all for listening and taking the time.
Thanks
and
for your presentation.
Get that awareness out there. Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
And let's see, who hasn't led in the 4-way test? Linda, it's been a while. You do everything for us, though. Would you like to-
somebody else can do it.
Oh, all right. Brian, how about you? You want to lead us the 4-way test?
Can I introduce you now?
Let me see if I can remember it. The 4.
Hey, I can do it if you can't.
1. Is it the truth? 2. Will it be fair to all concerned? 3. Will it build goodwill and better friendship? 4. Will it be fair to all concerned? I got that all. That's all right.
5. Will anybody find out?
Is it fun?
I've got I should actually bring these things up. I've got a canned picture image that I can share for that when we do that. That probably
I should have one on my desk, but I don't have my desk set up yet.
Anything else anybody needs to share or wants to share yet tonight before we sign out?
Yeah, it's good to see Luke knows how to drive a standard drive car.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I saw that.
I think he did that purposely, but good job. Good job.
I got to tell you guys, after riding that new Goldwing, wow.
Is that a bike? I heard it's a car on 2 wheels.
Actually, it's smaller than our old Goldwing.
Oh.
It is more streamlined and it's smaller. But
Does
it
it
is much
have
faster and comfortable.
Does it have airbags?
No, we didn't get that one. We didn't get the airbags. Nope.
That's like a $2,000 or $3,000 upgrade,
I
isn't
have
it?
a heated seat though.
Oh, up there, yes. I'm sorry, we still don't need heated seats down here yet.
We do.
Wait a minute. Are you kidding? There's airbags as an option?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it has been for almost 20 years now, actually.
Yeah.
I love
I
you
didn't
guys.
realize it was that long, but I know it's been an option.
Hey,
Well-
Terry, look up Goldwing airbag on YouTube video. It's got a really nice shot of how they did it.
Cool, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's actually quite a nice deal. There's also airbag jackets you can get too.
Yeah, they are.
that
They
pop
glow
when you
like
come
a
off,
Michelin
but the
man.
Goldwing design, and I've seen several times now, I've seen accidents where people have hit into the front of a car, unfortunately, and people go up and they roll over, and generally they break their wrist as they're coming up and over their handlebars and stuff, and then proceeded
Usually
to
your
whatever
mirrors.
other damage. And the airbag does a amazing job of protecting it, the way the design's set up from that happening.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, they showed a video originally of it running into the side of a Japanese minivan to show how the airbag worked. It was actually, you see the people that went up, hit it, and came back. They hit the airbag.
Wow. Like a basketball.
Pretty much. But it kept them from going over the top or hitting the vehicle.
Sure.
So Rory, you've got a new one now. Is it loaded?
Well, yeah.
Not really.
I do have the entry light still on at this one, where you walk up and the lights shine on the ground so you can see what's around it.
Oh. Are we still talking about a motorcycle?
Yeah.
That'd be useful if you dropped your keys, but it's probably a proximity key anyway.
It is.
All right, don't be hating. That's an age thing.
No, it's a nice bike. Really nice bike.
I saw the pictures. Looks good.
We got the dual. I got the dual clutch transmission, so it's kind of like an automatic. But
Wow.
well, hey, it's new technology. You know, we got to try something new every now and then. So
Okay.
I rode the demo, and I didn't take it there, but I know I could get it there and still scrape. So, you know, it does, the shifting on that thing is pretty amazing.
Did you get a new one, Jerry?
I don't no, I rode a demo when we went down and
Yeah, I
and
saw
picked
that.
up Rory and Judy's bike. I got to ride a demo, and Rory and I went out for a little over an hour there around Steve
Altoona.
and that thing was a lot of fun. It really was. And
That must have been before this last snowstorm, right?
yeah, it was actually between two of them, I think, down there. We picked it up and we rode. It was about 50 degrees, wasn't it, Rory?
How about that?
Next morning it was 28 and very slick.
Oh.
So, good times.
Well, you wouldn't want to be riding around here. That's what it's looking like.
Oh.
We've got about 5 inches on the ground right now, so no, we're not doing any riding.
No.
We had a half inch this morning, but it's mostly gone.
No, ours isn't.
We had a lot of black ice this morning again.
It's going to be 80 degrees here tomorrow. Sorry.
I think it's like January 105th so far, right? Longest January on record.
Here's ours.
Yeah, it was 80 when we left Sarasota on Saturday. Oh, wow.
It's
Come
80
south to visit.
It's 80 over here
We don't
in Miami
stay.
too.
Just
But the
visit.
problem is you got to deal with Miami driving.
Yeah.
Don't go that far south. That's too far.
Well, folks, I'm going to have to sign
wanna
off
get
here
there.
shortly.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
As always, I so much enjoy seeing you guys and enjoy this meeting. So,
Been fun. Thank you.
Happy
Have a good birthday,
really good
Jerry.
meeting coming up.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Hey, thank
birthday.
you all so
Happy
much.
birthday, Jerry.
Don't
All right.
drink too
Is there
much.
anything special that John has to do for the recording so that that's available so I can?
John just needs to log out or hit the stop record button. You can do that right now, John, if you would.
All right, that's done.
Okay.
And then John, when you if instead of actually closing your window, can you open the Zoom application on your account and then log out?
Yeah, I must have not logged out. Now I don't need it because we have another way to do we're
The other
putting
way?
branch
Okay, very
training
cool.
online.
If any of y'all need to use this account for a meeting sometime, just let me know and we can that can be a member benefit,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as that gets posted, then I'll send Nitro a copy or a link
A
to
link.
the video. Yeah.
Very
Okay.
cool. Thank you for finding that presentation for us tonight, Brian.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Brian.
Good.
That was very good.
It was-
Can you guys still hear me?
yeah.
We can still hear you.
On Friday and Saturday, I did recon the first day's route for the spring ride, and I think it's going to be a great ride. Had a lot of fun, some backcountry mountain roads, paved, and
Good point.
We're not going to believe you, John.
hey, I put the picture up on Facebook.
Yeah. I don't want to motocross on this one.
The first day is going to be, it just goes through some gorgeous, I guess, central Virginia mountain territory. There's some routes there that rival the Dragon.
Oh, wow. How far is your route get away from Luke?
Not far. I looked at it today. It's only an hour or two from me, so.
You're close to Blacksburg, aren't you?
Yeah, about an hour and a half from Blacksburg.
I mean, you feel free to join us in Blacksburg or join us in Front Royal, either one. I'll be getting down here when the weather warms up to do the Blacksburg to Canaan Valley route. I looked at the weather on Saturday morning, and they were predicting heavy rains, high winds, hail, and a moderate chance of tornadoes. So I wimped out.
That sounds like an IFMR weekend.
Yeah.
We had a tornado touchdown here on Saturday, and I got home about 45 minutes before. So it was chasing me down the road, and I made it back. But
those tornadoes are not as much fun as they tell you in the brochure.
Yeah, I'll take care. I'm going to pop out myself now.
Okay. Apparently,
Good guy.
Good night, everyone.
See you all next week.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.